As Cain delves into the pages of the Imperial Book, he uncovers a shocking revelation. The first king was actually of Japanese origin. According to the book, Yuya, the first Cain, had met his demise in an accident and was transported to this world in his original form. Cain realizes that their circumstances were not identical. In the midst of his reading, Telestia interrupts him, questioning what he is doing. Assuming he is studying for the Academy entrance exam, Telestia and Silk suggest they study together. However, Cain swiftly declines their offer, quickly coming up with an excuse before making a hasty retreat. He believes he has successfully evaded them, but then Tijuana appears, extending an invitation to battle. Cain flees once again, refusing her proposal. Unbeknownst to them, Cain is eagerly awaiting a significant day, his 12th birthday. Donning his new attire, Cain arrives at the guild to officially register as an adventurer. Excitement coursing through him, he enters the guild but accidentally collides with someone. When questioned, Cain explains that he is there to register. The person pats his head affectionately, offering well wishes before disappearing mysteriously. Cain senses a familiar presence but cannot quite place it. Heading towards the receptionist's desk, Cain is handed a form to fill out. Deliberately omitting his noble title, he submits the completed form. Afterward, the receptionist explains the next step. Cain must place a drop of his blood onto a crystal. As he does so, the crystal illuminates, signifying the registration of Cain's mana onto his guild card. As Cain receives his guild card from the receptionist, she mentions that his rank is the lowest, G rank. His gaze lingers on the card, triggering a memory of his former teachers who held D ranks. Just then, the receptionist apologizes for neglecting to introduce herself. Her name is Resha, and she offers Cain both encouraging words and important reminders. However, their conversation is abruptly interrupted by a group of adventurers who belittle Resha for wasting her time with a young child. One man goes as far as to mockingly suggest that Cain should return home to his mother and attempts to kick him, but Cain effortlessly dodges the attack, displaying his agility. The man's companion tries to strike as well, but Cain skillfully evades once again, humiliating them both. Frustrated, the man prepares to draw his sword. Before the situation escalates further, a familiar red-haired adventurer from earlier steps in, instantly recognized by the man as Claude from the Ice Flame party. Claude calmly inquires if the man desires a fight, causing him to hastily retreat. Cain expresses his gratitude to Claude for his timely intervention. Recognizing Cain's prowess in evading the attacks, Claude acknowledges his strength. They sit down together and enjoy their drinks, with Cain opting for juice since he is still a child. Intrigued by Cain's remarkable strength at such a young age, Claude expresses his curiosity. In response, Cain reveals that he received tutelage during his earlier years. Curious about the mention of Ice Flame, Cain inquires further, prompting Claude to explain that it is the name of his adventuring party. He wields a flaming sword while his wife utilizes ice magic in their battles. Realizing the potential benefits, Claude advises Cain to join a party, as it allows for more challenging quests and faster ranking up. To exemplify his point, Claude proudly reveals his own gold-ranked guild card, signifying his status as an ranked adventurer. Cain is impressed by the card, but Claude humbly mentions that there is always room for improvement. He even mentions a legendary black card supposedly possessed by the first king, who was known to hold triple ranks. Their conversation is interrupted as Claude is suddenly struck by his wife Lena's arrival. Lena questions why he is indulging in drinks, and Cain takes the opportunity to introduce himself, expressing gratitude for Claude's earlier assistance. Finding Cain adorable, Lena offers her assistance if he encounters any further trouble. However, she promptly drags Claude away, reminding him of their pending quest. Cain turns his attention to the quest board and notices a task involving cargo transportation. Cain believed that the task would be a piece of cake with his item box, but he craved a challenge that involved taking down monsters. He eventually found a quest that required him to defeat an unlimited number of goblins, making it the perfect first mission. However, he unexpectedly encountered Tijuana, and Dayam filled her in on his plan. The duo was on their way to train with the knights, but Tijuana was curious about Cain's intentions. He revealed that he was about to embark on his maiden adventure as an explorer. Unable to resist witnessing her husband's first quest, Tijuana insisted on tagging along and left Dayam in charge of their training. Cain attempted to flee, but Tijuana intercepted him and hauled him away. As they trekked through the forest, Tijuana had a blast dragging Cain along while pondering where the goblins could be lurking. Cain employed his search expertise, and they noticed a man besieged by goblins ahead of them. They hastened to the man's aid, and Cain utilized his magic to heal him. Tijuana leaped into action, effortlessly dispatching the goblins. But more goblins surfaced. Cain utilized his magical powers to augment Tijuana's strength, and she felt as though they were battling as one. They effortlessly defeated the additional goblins, but a colossal goblin emerged. However, thanks to Cain's magic, Tijuana dispatched it with ease, slicing it in two. She began daydreaming about their upcoming wedding, imploring Cain to compliment her, when a pack of green lizards appeared out of nowhere. Cain instructs Tijuana to take the man and flee, assuring her that he can handle the situation alone. With a swift incantation, he casts a blinding light spell, disorienting the enemies, and swiftly follows up with an ice pillar spell. Towering columns of ice erupt from the ground, leaving the man astonished at the spectacle, while Tijuana recognizes it as Kane's signature style. Later, we find Kane's mentors investigating the aftermath of the encounter with the green lizards, only to discover a massive crater in their wake. Returning to the guild, Kane contemplates whether he can submit the defeated green lizards as a quest completion, even though he didn't officially undertake the task. Resha expresses astonishment at this revelation, as green lizard quests are typically reserved for higher-ranked adventurers. Kane proudly reveals that he single-handedly defeated 30 of them. Unable to believe his achievement, Resha rushes to inform the guild chief about what transpired. The chief, introducing himself as Cedric, meets with Kane and acknowledges that the guildmaster is occupied, so he is handling the matter. Initially skeptical, Cedric suspects Kane of attempting to manipulate the system, given his recent registration as an adventurer, and deems it nearly impossible for him to have slain a green lizard. Kane steadfastly asserts his victory, but Cedric regards him with suspicion, perceiving him as a commoner attempting to swindle the guild out of its reward money. In an alarming turn of events, Cedric decides to punish Kane by revoking his guild card, accusing him of cheating and declaring a zero-tolerance policy for such behavior. Kane is struck with panic, realizing that his long-awaited dream of becoming an adventurer may be shattered on his very first day. However, just as Cedric is about to carry out his decision, the guildmaster makes a timely entrance. Cedric proceeds to explain the situation, expressing his disbelief that Kane could have defeated 30 green lizards. However, much to Cedric's astonishment, the guildmaster bursts into laughter, implying that there is much for him to learn. The guildmaster's stance in favor of Kane leaves Cedric bewildered, but his confusion deepens when the guildmaster summons his special guest, none other than Tijuana. Tijuana embraces Kane, referring to him as her husband, causing Resha and Cedric to be taken aback by this revelation. Kane himself wonders why Tijuana is present at the guild, and she proceeds to explain her purpose. She had come to discuss the city's strategies for dealing with goblins and green lizards. The guildmaster reveals that Kane is actually a baron and the heroic figure who saved the princess. Cedric struggles to comprehend this, pointing out that Kane had not mentioned his noble status on his registration form. Kane admits that he deliberately omitted it, as he wished to avoid receiving any preferential treatment. The guildmaster adds that if Kane marries Tijuana, then he will become his brother-in-law, leaving Kane astonished to learn that guildmaster is Tijuana's brother. Cedric humbly begs for forgiveness, while Tijuana suggests that he should be executed for insulting a noble. However, Kane accepts Cedric's apology, cautioning him against making hasty judgments in the future. Filled with excitement, Kane inquires if the guild will accept his green lizards as proof of his achievement. To his surprise, the guildmaster decides to promote him to C rank, acknowledging his impressive feat. However, Tijuana interjects, stating that a mere C rank is insufficient for someone as strong as Kane. She highlights how he even defeated a red dragon at the age of 10. Responding to Tijuana's assertion, the guildmaster revises his decision and elevates Kane with a rank instead. He does mention that Kane will need to subdue some bandits to solidify his new rank. Resha and Cedric find it difficult to believe that Kane is being promoted to such a high rank in just a single day. The guildmaster urges them to handle the necessary paperwork once they leave his office, apologizing for Cedric's earlier behavior. He admits to having initial concerns upon hearing about his sister's engagement, but now trusts Kane to take care of his battle-loving sister, Tijuana. In a realm beyond mortal sight, the gods observe Kane with amusement, witnessing the chaotic ripples he creates. They ponder whether granting him such immense strength was a miscalculation. Zenom voices his opinion, stating that Kane must grow even stronger, revealing the imminent release of a sealed entity named Aaron. Fear grips the gods as they contemplate the consequences of Aaron's liberation. Convinced that Kane requires further empowerment, the gods determine that he must train under a specific master to ascend to the next level. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the girls express their desire to study with Kane once again. However, their conversation is interrupted by the sudden entrance of Tijuana. She playfully mentions her enjoyment of their previous encounter in the forest and suggests a future trip to the beach. The girls realize that Kane had turned them down only to go on a date with Tijuana instead. Expressing their discontent, they insist that Kane takes them on dates as well. Kane, feeling remorseful, can only offer his apologies to the girls. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to subscribe our channel, aniexplainer.